At the beginning of the story, we see an American football match. A man named Nicky is sitting comfortably, with his girlfriend Jess in the VIP stands. The match is going on, but Nicky is more focused on the crowd than on the game. He notices a beautiful girl getting up from her seat and leaving. At that moment, a mischievous idea comes to his mind. He makes a small bet with Jess, saying, "Let's see how many people look back at that girl." One of the men sitting nearby, Lewin, hears this and says he also wants to join the bet. Nicky agrees. Everyone jokingly places a $10 bet and starts counting. When the girl leaves the stand, the final count shows that 7 people looked back at her. Jess had guessed the closest number, so she wins. Lewin gives her the money with a smile, then suggests starting another round. This time, the bet is about who will commit the next foul. Jess drops out, saying she doesn't know much about the game, but Nicky jumps in and places a $1,000 bet. As soon as the whistle blows, the referee signals a foul, and it turns out to be the team Nicky had bet on. He wins and slips the money into his pocket. Even after losing, Lewin gets more excited and says, "Let's place a $5,000 bet this time." Now the question is whether the player will pass the ball or run with it. Nicky hesitates a little, but finally agrees. Lewin guesses that the player will run, and Nicky says he will pass. The whistle blows. The player runs with the ball, which means Nicky loses $5,000. Nicky sighs. "It's okay," he says. "We lost 5,000. Let's stop here." He turns to Jess, asks her to come have coffee, but Lewin insists. "You're sitting in the VIP lounge," he says. "You have money. Why be upset over 5,000? Let's play another one, this time for 10,000. After a moment, Nicky agrees. Now the question is, will the player make the next pass correctly or not? Nicky predicts yes, but the other team intercepts the pass. Nicky has now lost $15,000. While taking out the money, he gets a little upset. He thinks for a moment and says, "Let's place a $50,000 bet this time." Jess is shocked, but Nicky looks angry. At this point, luck is not on his side. He loses again and has to give away another 50,000. Jess urges him to stop immediately, but Nicky's anger and ego take over. Without thinking, he places the next bet, $100,000. Lewin laughs and teases him, "Do you even have that much money?" Nicky silently throws a bundle of cash on the table. Seeing this, Lewin gets even more excited. This time Nicky bets that the next pass will be intercepted and won't be completed, but the pass is successful. Now Nicky has suffered a loss of $100,000. He can't figure out how to get out of this mess. Jess is shocked by his behavior, but the game has now reached a very serious stage. Nicky says, "I have 1 million left. Let's bet it all. Let's see who wins this time." The final decision will be made by playing cards. Since Lewin has been winning continuously, he's now crazy with excitement, looking at Nicky like an ATM machine. Lewin draws his card. It's the 5 of clubs. Now Nicky just has to draw a card higher than 5. His chances of winning are high. He picks up a card, flips it over with great confidence, but it's the 3 of hearts. Jess gasps and falls off her chair. When Nicky started the game, he only intended to bet $10, but now he had lost more than 1 million. After such a shameful defeat, he has nothing left to say. Quietly, he holds Jess's hand and starts walking out. He's deeply upset, but Lewin keeps teasing him. This is what happens when you mess with the master. Nicky stops. He turns slowly and places another bet, this time for $2 million. But this bet is different. Nicky challenges Lewin. "Pick any random player using your telescope. If I can guess that player's jersey number correctly, the win is mine." Lewin pauses for a moment, a little confused, unsure whether to take the challenge or not. He said, "This is like mind reading." It felt like Nicky was setting himself up for failure. Lewin also started suspecting that Nicky might be cheating. To remove his doubt, Nicky said, "Hey, I won't guess this time. Jess will." Jess looked angrily at Nicky. She couldn't understand what was happening. She said, "Among so many people, what are the chances I'll guess the correct jersey number?" Saying this, she tried to leave, but Lewin's security guard stopped her. A small fight broke out. Jess took a deep breath, calmed herself down a little. Nicky gently said, "Just look around the ground and say whichever number feels like your own." Lewin picked up the binoculars and chose a player. Then Jess took the binoculars and scanned the entire field. She could see jersey numbers everywhere. How could she possibly guess? Then her eyes fell on a familiar face, and she remembered Nicky's words. "Choose the number that feels like your own." Their friend Farhad was wearing jersey number 55. Jess understood everything. This was all part of Nicky's plan. She said softly, "Number 55." And it was the correct answer. Lewin was stunned. Jess too started wondering, how had Nicky known Lewin would choose that number? But at that moment it didn't matter. They had already won the bet. Both of them made a $1 million profit. and got back all the money they had lost. They left the stadium with 2 big bags full of cash. In the car, Nicky finally told Jess the truth. Everything had been part of their plan. They had been tracking Lawan for a long time. He was well known in high society for his bad gambling habits. He would jump at any bet placed in front of him. So Nicky's team had planned the entire setup. As soon as Lawan stepped out of his hotel room, the number 55 was planted in his subconscious mind. The number was on the label pin of his security guard. It appeared on signboards along the road to the stadium. They didn't just show him the number, they made him hear it too. While coming to watch the match, a song had been playing in Lawan's car that repeated the number 55. Again and again, that number was said 124 times in the song, constantly pulling Lawan's attention toward it. He had even been shown a photo of Farhad, which helped build a visual memory. So when Lawan looked through the binoculars, his mind naturally drifted toward the number 55. And Jess, as soon as she saw Farhad, said 55. Jess had not been told anything in advance, so her expression stayed natural throughout the game. That way, no one would ever suspect her. After hearing everything, Jess was completely amazed and deeply impressed with Nicky. After this, the story takes us a few days back. Just a few days earlier, Nicky was lying on a bed with Jess beside him and a man pointing a gun at his head. Jess sat next to him, someone he had only met recently. It was clear someone had trapped Nicky, but there was no fear on his face. He said calmly, "I don't have a single penny. If you want to shoot, then shoot." The man with the gun looked at Nicky and quickly realized this man was clever, maybe even more cunning than them. And he was right. Nicky was a master con artist, a man who pulled off even petty thefts with incredible skill. Jess had brought Nicky to that room by tricking him, but Nicky saw something in her, a natural talent. At that time, Jess didn't understand anything, but that meeting would change everything that followed. When the man with the gun finally left, Nicky turned to Jess and said softly, "You have a gift. If you polish this ability to trick people, you can live a very comfortable life." Then he smiled and added, "This is our family business. My father, his father, they were all con men. We're cheats by blood. Every trick, every move is a game to us." Without wasting a second, Jess took out some money and said, "I want to learn from you." Nicky nodded, agreeing silently. As they walked out, he quietly stole one of Jess's rings. She didn't even notice. By the time she realized, her watch had also disappeared. And when she reached for her handbag, her wallet was gone too. After all these tricks, Nicky smiled and said, "Sleight of hand, and a little style. That's all you need for this work." Then he said goodbye and left her standing there. Months later, Jess found Nicky again, this time in New Orleans, where he was building a new team. But their meeting wasn't a coincidence. It was a test. Nicky wanted to see if Jess was ready to join his world. When she agreed, he sent her on her first practical assignment. She went to a busy fair, holding a map in her hand, asking strangers for directions. While she distracted them, her partner quietly stole a tourist's camera lens. A few moments later, another teammate bumped into a man, and Jess slipped his wallet out. Her hands were steady, her timing perfect. Jess was starting to feel more confident, more alive in this new, dangerous world. Using chopsticks, she took another woman's wallet from her bag, without a single person noticing. Everything went so smoothly, it almost looked like a dance. From the top of a nearby building, Nicky watched everything unfold. He smiled and told his team to leave Jess alone. Now, it was her turn to fly solo. Jess started stealing expensive items, one after another, and with each theft, Nicky's respect for her kept growing. Soon he decided to give her something bigger, a high-tech scam. With the help of special lenses, they could see other players' cards and win easily. There was also a system for stealing credit cards. The stolen card would be sent to a teammate, where a small device copied its data, and then the card would be slipped right back into the owner's pocket. By the time anyone noticed, their entire account was empty. Another trick involved a fake ATM machine. Whenever someone withdrew money, the machine secretly stored their PIN. Later, Farhad would come, remove the machine, and steal all the data. All the stolen cards were sorted into different categories. Luxury items were bought using them, and finally, their data was sold on the black market. One day, Jess saw a beautiful necklace. She wore it, admiring herself in the mirror, but Nicky immediately told her to take it off. He explained sharply, "All the items must be sold. Nothing personal. Never keep anything for yourself." Jess stayed silent. She was seeing large-scale fraud for the very first time, and the feeling of standing. The next day, Jess and Farhad were walking through a wealthy neighborhood, planning their next move. Their task was simple: to act. Farhad suddenly fainted, and Jess began shouting, "Please, someone help us, please." It was all a distraction. While everyone's attention turned toward Jess, the rest of the team moved through the crowd, picking pockets, lifting watches, and stealing from the rich people around them. Within seconds, the job was done. The whole team escaped, hiding inside an ambulance. The plan was so perfectly executed that no one even suspected a thing. That night, they all celebrated together. Nicky praised everyone, smiling proudly. They had made $1.2 million in just 1 week. The next day, the team began preparing to go their separate ways. Documents were destroyed, phones were wiped clean, and Nicky assured everyone that their money would be transferred to their bank accounts within a few days. But the older members of the crew knew Nicky still had one last mission left. The next morning, Nicky took Jess to the VIP lounge of a stadium. He performed a full demonstration, showing her how they could earn $1 million in just a few minutes. By now, Jess had started to fall in love with him. She thought Nicky was showing her all this because she was his girlfriend. He had included her in the plan, only for his own benefit. When it was all over, Nicky handed her $80,000 in cash, looked her in the eyes, and said goodbye. Jess stood there, tears welling up. Her heart was broken. He had fallen for Nicky, but for him, this was just another con. She also felt that $80,000 was too little, because Nicky had just made $1 million. But in Nicky's world, there was no place for emotion. Jess had now seen his true colors. Nearly 3 years later, a race car pulls into a service station. We see Nicky again. His eyes look tired. His face tells the story. He's been running out of luck and running out of money. During lunch, he meets George, the owner of a race car team. George's research group has developed a new algorithm called EXR, but he wants to make it even better to increase his chances of winning. So he hires Nicky. The plan is simple. Nicky will pretend to be their chief engineer. Then he and George will stage a fake fight in front of everyone so that rival teams fall for the setup. After that, Nicky will sell a fake version of EXR to the rival team, while George's team secretly uses the real system and wins easily. As part of the deal, Nicky would earn €1 million plus whatever money he made selling the fake version. To him, it sounded like child's play, a scam he could pull off even in his sleep. But George's butler didn't trust him. He stepped close, looked Nicky straight in the eye, and said coldly, "If you do anything wrong, I'll shoot you right in the chest." That evening, Nicky put on a tuxedo and arrived at the party. The plan was to stage their fake fight in front of the crowd, but everything fell apart the moment Jess appeared, walking down the stairs in a stunning red dress. She went straight to George and hugged him. Nicky froze, his eyes filled with anger. His mind went blank. He hadn't seen Jess in 3 years, and now she was with someone else, with the very man who had hired him. Jess walked calmly up to Nicky and said, "I'm not a con artist anymore. Whatever happened 3 years ago, it doesn't matter now." She also added softly, "George doesn't know anything about our past, and it's better if we keep it that way." Hearing this, Nicky's face changed. He was furious. He grabbed a glass of vodka and drank it all in one go. At first, he had planned to pretend to be angry, but now the anger was real. The fight with George, which was supposed to be an act, had turned into the real thing. Their shouting match caught the attention of the rival racing team. Just as Nicky had hoped, security rushed in and threw Nicky out of the party. But as he stumbled onto the street, a small smile appeared on his face. The next morning, Nicky met the owner of the McLaren team. He spoke confidently, "I want to sell you the EXR system. Price, €3 million. The team owner didn't blink. Money wasn't a problem. He immediately tested the system on the track, and when he saw the results, his face lit up. Nicky promised to deliver the complete software within 48 hours. Meanwhile, Jess met Farhad on the road. Farhad had been sent by Nicky. He told her softly it was necessary for Nicky to leave 3 years ago. He had no other choice. Then he added, "Nicky still loves you." And he handed her a small box. Inside it was the same necklace Jess had once fallen in love with. Whether it was real or fake didn't matter. Jess's heart melted the moment she saw it. She told Farhad she couldn't trust Nicky, but her eyes said something else. She still had feelings for him. The day of the deal arrived. Nicky showed up, handed the software to the McLaren team owner, and received a case full of cash, €3 million. But Nicky was never the type to finish a job without taking a risk. He had secretly sold copies of the same software to every racing team. Every handshake brought him more euros. Every smile, another sale. By the time the race began, every team on the track was using the exact same EXR system. No one had a clue. That night, instead of running away, Nicky sent Jess a message. "If you come in time, we can escape together." He waited. Minutes passed. No one came. Just when he gave up and turned to leave, Jess appeared, but it was too late to run. The same strong man, who had given Nicky the 3 million euros, now stepped out of the shadows. He wasn't from the McLaren team at all. He was George's man. He had found out the truth, that Nicky had sold the real software, not the fake one. He didn't care about the money anymore. Dressed in full racing gear, he jumped into a car and crashed straight into Nicky's vehicle. The impact was brutal. After the terrible accident, both Nicky and Jess were captured. They were tied up, and all the stolen cash was laid out in front of George. George was furious. He had spent 40 million euros creating that software, and now it was gone. The worst part, he still didn't know how Nicky had managed to steal it. When Nicky stayed silent, George snapped. He pressed Jess's nose shut, cutting off her air. Seeing her struggle, Nicky broke down. He confessed everything. He explained how he had made Jess fall for him again, how he had used her emotions as part of the plan. He said, "I gave her the same necklace she loved years ago, but this time, it had a special chip inside." As soon as George opened the software, that chip stole his password and copied all the data. Jess's eyes filled with tears. Her heart shattered as she realized he had been part of the con. Tears streamed down Jess's face, but George and his men began to laugh. They liked the story, but they didn't believe a word of it. George smirked and said, "Jess was never really my girlfriend. I know she was only with me for my money." Jess looked down for a moment, then said softly, "You're right. I never loved you, George. I was only pretending, just to steal your watch collection." Nicky's eyes widened. He couldn't believe it. Jess had faked her love for George, just to make him jealous. Now both of them were caught, their lies laid bare. George turned to his butler and asked, "So tell me, how did he manage to steal the software?" As soon as Nicky opened his mouth to speak, bang, the butler fired. The bullet hit Nicky straight in the chest. George froze. His face turned pale. He panicked and shouted, "I can make more money later, but if I get caught for murder, I'm finished." Without wasting a second, George fired the butler from his job and ran out of the warehouse in fear. Jess was crying uncontrollably, screaming Nicky's name, but the butler calmly said, "There's no need to worry." He smiled slightly and added, "I'm actually Nicky's man." In truth, the butler was Nicky's father. He had fired the bullet carefully, close to the heart, but not through it. He quickly sealed the wound with tape, used a needle to draw out the extra blood, and balanced the air pressure in Nicky's chest. Then, Nicky opened his eyes. He was alive. It was a crazy plan, but it worked. Behind them, a mountain of stolen money glittered under the lights. The three of them quietly left the warehouse. As they walked away, we learned the truth. Nicky had been an orphan, raised by this same man. He was the one who had taught Nicky every trick in the book, and their one rule was simple: never get emotional. But now, Nicky had truly fallen in love with Jess. On the roadside, the butler stopped the car, left both of them there, and drove away with all the money. Nicky was left with nothing. Later, on their way to the hospital, Nicky noticed something shining in Jess's hand. It was George's 200,000 euro watch. He looked at her. She looked at him, and both of them smiled, because with tricks like this, and a little sleight of hand, they knew they'd never go hungry, no matter where they were in the world. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.